Huge play.
All right, we are live, as far as I know. Welcome to the 2023 College Football National Championship live stream. We will just be giving you some play-by-play today, maybe a few graphics and statistics on the screen, just in case you are at work or somewhere and you can't watch the game. We will help you follow the game.
We join you with 9:40 left in the first. TCU with a big penalty and a fumble. Inbounds recovered by
Is
Georgia comes
recovered by
up with it.
Georgia. I would like to see, though, if anyone was out of bounds when they touched the ball, because if any body part is out of bounds and you touch the football, the ball cannot be turned over. It is down right there.
Looks like a clean strip.
Clean strip. Strip number 11. Is that back number 29 with the strip for Georgia? Yeah, I don't think anyone was touching the out of bounds line. If you're not getting to listen to Pat McAfee, you're really missing something special, because this will be the last time he ever gets to do this.
Confirmed TCU turnover.
What do you say? Georgia's at the 28-yard line now?
About a 6-yard run.
Let's see. It is second down. They are in TCU territory.
Currently at the 28 of TCU. Bennett drops back.
Play action. Great catch. Who is that?
Down to the TCU 12.
Number 84 with a great catch near the right sideline.
Fantastic catch and throw. He climbed the ladder there. Didn't look like too much movement.
Got 8:24 left in the first quarter.
TCU 13. Bennett takes a snap. Handoff up the middle.
Up the middle to number 2.
10. 2nd and 7 at the TCU 10. It would be huge for this TCU defense to come up with a hold and a field goal attempt stand.
If TCU wants to stay in this game, they've got to hold them to a field goal. Bennett back to pass. Throws over the middle. Contested by number 28. Bradford the third knocks the ball away.
Number 0, the intended receiver.
It is now 3rd and 7 from the TCU 10-yard line. Georgia with the ball.
Great defensive play. Got there right in time. Bradford with the pass breakup.
The ball was thrown to the 5-yard line. It would have been a first down. No, it would not have been a first down. It would have been 3rd and 2 had the ball been caught.
Just shy. This is monumental for TCU's defense to come up with a stop here.
Bennett back to pass. They got pressure on Bennett. Ball is caught.
Great open field tackle.
Tackled at about the 7-yard line. It is probably 4th and 3 now.
Bennett had not left the field. This could have stopped the bleeding for now.
Great open field tackle by number 3. They are going to attempt the field goal. It is 4th and 3. 7 minutes left in the game.
The field goal is up, and
it is good. 10-0 Georgia.
We cannot understate the importance of that TCU goal line stand there.
Yeah, if TCU can get a field goal or a touchdown, they're definitely in this game, but they can't let this be a two-touchdown game. The only chance TCU, I think, has to victory is they've got to get some takeaways, and they've just got to keep the game close. They've got to keep it close all game and hope they can pull it out in the end.
Another important factor is the on the offensive side of the ball for TCU, not giving the ball away in negative territory there. Georgia had fantastic field possession to start that offensive possession.
Yeah, you can't just give the ball up, especially to the better team. Like I was predicting Georgia would win by 17, so if you're going to beat a team that people believe is that much better than you, you can't give them anything. I believe any fumble is an unforced turnover. You know, it's hard to throw the ball, but if you've got the ball in two hands, if you're carrying the football, there's no reason to give that ball up.
That previous fumble by TCU was the ball carrier definitely had the ball loose. Wasn't punched out. It was just very loose.
Yeah, he just wasn't aware of who was behind him. I think someone came and stripped it from behind, like from his back right side possibly, like someone he couldn't see.
Yep.
But that's just the way it is.
That
guy's probably carried a football 2,000 times in his life. He's got to know that he doesn't know where everybody is. He's got to protect that thing.
Thus far, the Georgia defense looks stifling, though.
Maybe TCU can try to do what Ohio State did 10 days ago. You know, you just got to throw the ball.
You're going to have to make some plays where you have them to. Sometimes when you're playing a team that's predominantly better than you in all phases, you're going to have to just take plays, steal plays.
Yeah, you're going to have to push the ball down the field. So Georgia's defense, their big strength is stopping the run, and that probably is not something you can do anything about, period. Normally teams that are strong at stopping the run, it doesn't matter who they play or who is back there, they will remain strong at stopping the run. I'm telling you, if you have never seen Pat McAfee give play-by-play of a national game, you're missing out. It is the best thing I've ever seen. All right, that's good information. The only first down TCU has on offense has come from a penalty. You know, they're really setting themselves up for a team that's about to get dominated. This next drive could definitely set the tone for the rest of the game. Kickoff through the end zone, touchback. So 6:51 left in the first quarter. TCU has the football. It is 1st and 10 at the 25, I think, if college rules are the same as NFL.
Looks about the 20.
Maybe, we'll see.
25.
It is at the 25. There's 15 seconds left on the play clock. They are in a shotgun with the running back to the right side. 3 wide receivers.
Running back shifts to the left.
They hand the ball off right up the gut
handoff
for about 4 yards, maybe, to the 29-yard line.
Not horrible penetration.
So 4 yards is good on that. It sets you up for a 2nd and 6 that you can do a lot with. Maybe you can give them a little bit of play action. Maybe you can see if you can run the ball again.
If TCU can gain any momentum in the trenches here, that changes the momentum of the game completely. It will be a tall task, though, against this Georgia front. .15 seconds left on the play clock. Duggan drops
TCU
back
to pass. Throws
Deep
a bomb
pass, wide open. It's
Number
short.
11. Wow, what a throw, you know. Maybe Ohio State sort of exposed them 10 days ago. You got to throw on these guys. That was horrifically bad coverage. Horrific.
I will also say that was a horribly underthrown ball.
Yes.
With a ball that was remotely led, the receiver takes that pass to the end zone.
Period. This guy was open by about 20 yards. He was out there waving his hands.
TCU in hurry up at Georgia 11.
They've handed the ball off. They've got up to about the 6.5 yard line, 7. There is a man down from Georgia. Number 97 is rolling around on the ground injured.
So we watch this replay. Number 11 was screaming down the left sideline. 10, 15 yard separation between him and any corner.
Yeah, the ball traveled about 40 yards in the air. It is second down, 5:33 left in the game, 10-0 Georgia. 97 is down and looks to be actually injured. I'm not sure this is going to be something he comes back from. I guess we'll hear. So now we're on a commercial break. I'm going to try to look up some stats from the Ohio State game to see what they did to expose Georgia's elite defense.
That type of play was exactly what we were talking about during the break between Georgia's field goal, that TCU needs to steal plays when they have the chance. Huge blown coverage, fantastic opportunity for TCU. They capitalized. Now they are in the red zone threatening to score. This could serve huge for momentum.
Yeah, last week Ohio State threw for 348 yards. They averaged 7 yards per play, which is absolutely incredible. And they actually did pretty well on defense. Georgia was just 2 for 10 on third down. But Ohio State did have 0 turnovers. TCU already has 1. You can't give Georgia anything if you want to expect to win the game.
And you might have to steal a turnover or 2 of your own.
Which is exactly how TCU beat Michigan. TCU had 2 pick sixes against a Michigan team that was definitely supposed to beat them by multiple scores. This is a very long commercial break. He looks to be hurt pretty bad. If he's still out there on the field and they're not coming back anytime soon. Let's see who is injured. It is back number 97 for Georgia.
Defensive lineman Warren Brinson.
Warren Brinson is a junior out of Savannah, Georgia. He played in all 13 regular season games, hit 11 total tackles and 10 QB hurries. He had just a sack for a 6-yard loss in the Tennessee game. Not a whole lot about him, really. He looks to be the kind of guy that'll be back next year. We are back with 5:33 left in the first quarter.
SoFi Stadium looks awful purple, doesn't it?
I'm colorblind, so I'll take your word for it.
TCU fans look to be in full effect. Snap is taken. It is a run down to the 2-yard line.
It's going to be 3rd and 1. No word yet on the defensive lineman about the extent of his injury. 97 standing up on the sideline. He looks to be okay. He hasn't gone to a tent. He's got his helmet on. He'll probably be back out there maybe on the next drive.
I think you run this here.
All right. Looks like they're in shotgun.
They've been getting fairly good penetration.
We got motion.
Man in motion. Quarterback keeper.
Touchdown. Number 15, TCU.
There's a quarterback keeper of his own. Georgia scored previously with their only touchdown of the game on a quarterback keeper. Same side.
It looks like they try to use Dugan as a Josh Allen, Taysom Hill type player.
He had that lead blocker and had a huge gap to the left side.
Extra point is good. 10-7 Georgia. TCU's keeping this game close. It's what they've got to do. So Dugan, I think, finished third in the Heisman Trophy voting, which was a little surprising to me, I think. I think Stetson Bennett actually got fourth.
Now this may be, if I'm recalling properly, the worst field position, unless of course this is taken back for decent yardage. This might be the worst field position that Georgia has been started with so far this game. So we'll see how TCU's defense responds to the huge drive. Maybe bring some momentum here.
On Georgia's first touchdown, took 5 plays, 57 yards, 2 minutes, 58 seconds. On Georgia's second score, the field goal, 6 plays, 27 yards, 2 minutes, 39 seconds. So Georgia really hasn't had to go the extent of the field to score.
Seems they've started in pretty positive territory each drive. We'll see if TCU's defense can, keep this inertia here, get some momentum, kind of continuing here, and see if that offense can continue to keep pace.
We got to see though if TCU can move the ball without needing that big chunk play. If they think they can win this game by getting big chunk plays, you're probably not going to get but 2 or 3 of those a game. You've got to be able to move the ball down the field and get first downs, or you're going to get dominated.
I will say the difference was night and day between the penetration in the trenches with the 4 and 5 yard rushes that we saw that drive versus the rushes that were getting stuffed in that first drive.
Yeah, so the first 2 drives, TCU had a combined yardage of 6 total yards in their first 2. On this previous drive, after that chunk play, they were able to get a good 4 yards plus per run. TCU play selection, they've thrown the ball 5 times. They've ran the ball 6. The chunk play was to Darius Davis for 60 yards. Outside of that one play, however, TCU has 14 total yards, which definitely could pose to be a problem. We are back. 4:45 left in the first quarter. TCU is about to kick off to Georgia.
The kick is returnable.
This ball
Fielded
is
at
returned
the 4.
from the 4-yard line. Brought down at the 30, about the 30.
Decent return there.
If I am Georgia, though, I want to kick that ball out of the back of the end zone every single time. I want them to have to go against our elite defense. I'd figure they have a better chance of scoring on a kickoff than working the ball down the field on us.
And if I'm TCU, I almost feel the opposite, thought there.
Absolutely, I want
think
to
give us a
return that
chance
ball.
to make a mistake. Quick throw to number 84. Takes it out to the 40.
Yep, 11-yard gain. Ball is at the 40, 41. It is 1st and 10 Georgia. 4:28 left. Clock is ticking.
I'll say one consistent here is Stetson Bennett has looked cool, calm, and collected every single play.
Yeah, Georgia has had no problem getting first downs. No real struggle. They got stopped in the red zone on their last drive.
It's a handoff to the right side. Huge play up the right side. Number 6 for a first down and some.
Looks to be about 11 or a 12-yard gain. We'll have to see where he stepped out of bounds on the right side of the field. It's number 6 with the carry.
That's 2 plays in this drive, 2 first downs. .338 left in the first, 15 seconds on the play clock. Bennett takes the snap, keeps. There's a blocker, number 84, for about another 11.
It looks like a first down. So I don't know if you would call these screen passes or what. What would you call these short little passes?
Maybe quick outs.
Yeah, I don't know what they are. Is he running an out? It looks like they're just maybe 1 yard of where they were lined up when the ball was snapped. I don't know what you would call these passes, but it looks like they'll have like 3 guys to the left, and then 2 of them will run down the field. One of the receivers will just hang around behind them and get a good 10-yard gain.
There we had a lineman coming from the side, lead blocking for him.
Yeah, all this has looked like a pretty easy pitch and catch for Georgia.
A lot of movement.
Deep
throw down the field.
Wide open. Wow. Horrific coverage. Maybe they'll show us a replay to see what happened, but this guy was wide open. That's absolutely horrific defense. I mean, this looks like the kind of defense we saw Alabama play against Tennessee earlier in the year, where just if you want to score, just throw it deep and no one's even covering a soul.
Number 84 screaming down the left side of the field, wide open with no TCU defenders within 10 yards.
Number 84, McKinney, he made a great catch on the sideline earlier in the game. So Stetson Bennett has a rushing touchdown, and how far was that? Well, that was 50 yards, right? Probably about 50-plus yards.
50, yeah, about 50.
17-7 TCU, 2 minutes, 43 seconds left in the game. So it looks like Georgia's just dominating TCU, and if there's one thing TCU doesn't want this to be, they do not want this to be a track meet. Yeah, so that was actually just a 37-yard touchdown. He may have thrown it about 45 yards.
So he thought he had safety help, and he stayed down to cover the running back coming out of the backfield.
Yeah, correct. So number 1 was covering number 84, and he handed him off to no one.
Yep, safety followed the slot man to the middle.
So what they did was they overloaded them deep there. Wow, so you had 3 guys for TCU going deep, but they were on 1 player. I guess it was just a lack of communication in the secondary there.
So far, this Georgia offense is scoring at will, moving the ball at will. This could be over soon. Georgia with a returnable kickoff. TCU to the 21.
All right, 2:39 left in the first quarter. It is 17-7 Georgia. Georgia has absolutely dominated TCU early in the game. TCU really getting all of their yardage, but I think about 10 yards off of 1 play.
I think
you're just not going to win a football game that way.
I think this is worst case scenario right here for TCU. You do not want to have a track meet with this Georgia defense.
Yeah, I think if you want to beat Georgia, you've got to keep this game under. You're going to want to score 28 points to win.
Great penetration up front for a first down, 10-yard gain.
You know, this is really something, seeing Georgia get ran on this easily. You wouldn't expect Georgia to go to a track meet with anybody, but we saw that with Ohio State. You know, Ohio State's, you'd think, a much higher-powered offense than TCU.
I think if you can run here, you're really able to expose that secondary with some play-action passes.
Yeah, definitely. So if you can run all over them and just walk down the field, they're going to have to get some help. They're going to have to get closer to the line.
Man in motion, another
Ooh,
fantastic run. We're looking at about 6 yards here.
great run. I'd say anything over 3 yards, 3 yards or more, especially on first down, is a terrific run against Georgia.
You can't have negative plays. You can't go down early in the down and distance there. You're going to have positive plays. Give yourself second and third of shorts.
Keeps the defense guessing. So here, you don't know what they're going to do. They could hand the ball off again. They can throw. They can do whatever they want on 2nd and 3. And
I
that's
think here you think about allowing him to throw here, and he does. He drops back. Great throw.
pitch and catch. Georgia brought pressure, did not get there. Number 19 for the first down, 1st and 10, TCU. 1:25 left in the game.
It seems TCU's offense is settled in a bit. They're moving the ball really well. One minute left in the first quarter. TCU takes the snap. It's a keep.
Oh, it
He
looked like
looked
he wanted to
deep,
go
and he
deep, but
got
he just got
stifled.
smashed. So that's
Stifled
a
at their own
negative
40.
play, and you know what? It means a lot what you do after a negative play. This is kind of situation where, it's 2nd and 18 now. Is he going to try to force a pass? You cannot turn the ball over against them. Maybe on this next play, you just sort of take what you can get and try to make third down more manageable.
The left tackle got beat there, but it was really a coverage sack. It kind of took a while to develop there. It looked like quarterback really wanted to go deep. Ball's at the 41 of TCU. Nothing. 1 yard. It's gonna be the quarter. Great momentum shift by that Georgia defense coming up big there. With Georgia's offense playing as good as they're playing right now, if TCU doesn't get something here and they have to punt this ball away, this might be the game.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I still think that, let's say, if TCU has to punt, maybe they don't need to get out of their game, okay? So even if they're down by 2 scores, no matter what, you still have to stop Georgia on defense. Don't get out of your game. As soon as you get out of your game, that's how you could lose by 28 points. Play your game until it's absolutely necessary to change it up. Quite a long commercial break here.
We are back at SoFi Stadium. TCU 7, Georgia 17. Huge third down here for the TCU offense.
Start of
It's
the
third
second
and
quarter.
long. Third and 17 to the middle. Looks like about 7, 8 yards shy. It's going to be a fourth down. You would think they punt here. Offense stays on the field.
We'll see if they try to get aggressive here. So they are on the opposite side of the field. Maybe you try to punt the ball and pin Georgia inside the 5. If you don't get this, though, you definitely risk
Fourth
making
and
this a
6.
track meet.
I think you have to punt it here. It looks like 74 is coming off. He may be going to the locker room here. Here's the punt. Fairly good punt down to about the Georgia 8. Offensive lineman for TCU, number 74, is coming off, going into the training room. I think if Georgia can mount some kind of long drive here, take some time off this clock.
Georgia is pinned
gain some
pretty deep.
momentum.
Ooh, great defense. Held Georgia to about 2 yards, 1.5 yards. It's going to be a 2nd and 8.
2nd and 8 for about the 10, 11 of Georgia.
We're going to see how TCU plays this. Is TCU going to try to play Georgia straight up, or are they going to try to send some pressure? Georgia has really taken advantage of TCU giving some cushion to wide receivers. Looks like TCU has played zone. Has left guys open underneath all night.
Play action.
Play action pass to the 20-yard line to number 19, 1st and 10.
Bennett looked like he could have took the 5, 10 yards for the run, but instead he took the throw. Got more than that. Great decision making there.
Yeah, great throw to Bowers.
Now, if you watch TCU secondary there, it looks like 3 men followed the one guy screaming to the right side. This could be another big play here.
Deep throw wide open to Bowers all the way to this TCU 45-yard line. Looked like Bowers got over the top on the coverage. Bowers coming out of the backfield on that.
A lot of movement pre-snap, if you see.
Yeah, so it looked like TCU was sort of confused on who had what assignment on what receiver. Number 6 came, looked like, I think number 6 probably is a linebacker. Definitely did not have the speed of number 19. I was lucky that ball was slightly underthrown.
About a loss of a yard there.
TCU
may have gotten back to the line.
Doing all right against the run. Got some good penetration. Georgia tried to run outside to the right, and TCU was back there for a half-yard, full-yard loss possibly.
Georgia's absolutely carving TCU in the passing game right now.
Yeah, so it looks like Georgia can throw anytime they want. I'm actually going to see if Stetson Bennett even has an incompletion in this game.
If you're able to throw at will like this, I think you drop back and you let him go win this thing for you.
Yeah, Stetson Bennett is 9 for 10 for 156 yards.
There it is. He drops back. There's the incompletion right there. Well, there's
good
the second
coverage.
one.
Good coverage to the sideline. Bennett's now 9 for 11. That was good coverage by number 1.
Great coverage. Looked like he pushed him to the outside, got him where he wanted him.
So number 5 definitely had a size advantage on it, but he couldn't take advantage of it. Looked like Georgia's guy was probably about 6 inches taller than the TCU corner. 11:41 left in the game. 17-7, Georgia. Georgia with the ball, 3rd and 10.
You have to keep this at a 2-score game.
Will they bring pressure?
It looks like they have
TCU's definitely in zone coverage here.
They have 6 up to the line. Let's see if somebody drops out. Six blitz.
Pressure.
Bets into the outside.
Wow.
And he picks up the first
Wow.
down.
So number 13 blitzes, completely untouched, and Bennett just sort of turned around, and 13 could not catch him. Well, 13 on 13. It looks like
crime,
Georgia's number 13 was definitely faster. Bennett has some sneaky speed to him. Maybe he's a pretty good athlete.
They were not in field goal range there, so that poses to be huge there.
Correct. So had they not gotten that, you may have seen a punt or possibly them go for it on 4th down. 1st and 10.
TCU 34. 3 seconds on the play. They have to snap it there. And another run stop here.
Yeah,
Looks like a loss of 1, maybe 2.
Seen at least 3 tackles for a loss whenever Georgia tries to run the ball, but Georgia is just throwing all over them.
I think the difference here is going to be the pressure up front. When they throw, you're going to have to get him off key.
Yeah, so they're going to have to get pressure, but they can't get pressure by sending too many people. So on the 2 plays ago, when they did get pressure and Bennett got that good run, people were open for Georgia, but Bennett really didn't have to look for them.
You have to steal those edges as well.
Play action.
Back again. Big blitz. He got popped at the end of that throw.
It's going to be close to a 1st down, a 9, possibly 10-yard gain. Bennett dumps it off to the running back. He had to get it off pretty quick. Bennett seems fine.
10 for 12, 166 yards on 1 passing touchdown. You can't forget that rushing touchdown. And another run, and Georgia does convert there on 3rd and 2. Picked up 5-6.
It's Georgia's best run in quite a while.
Georgia's looking to mount a 92-yard touchdown drive here. That would by far be the longest of the game.
What is this, a pro set? You got 2 backs back there.
On their worst field position of the game as well.
Yes.
We're at the TCU 18. And he just beats him to the edge. TCU could not seal the edge. Georgia 1st down. It looks like a gain of 10. The running back McIntosh with the 1st down.
Looks like TCU just does not have
the speed to seal the edge.
They don't have
there.
the speed. They just don't have the athletes to keep up with Georgia. .8:38 left in the game. 1st and goal. Ball at the
Georgia at TCU.
About the 7.
Bennett wide
walks
open.
Walks in for the touchdown. Around the left side. Had 2 guys out in front blocking. I don't even know if they blocked. Maybe they just came with him.
That's a 6 or a 7-yard touchdown run by Stetson Bennett. That is his 2nd in the game. He has 3 rushes for about 39 yards.
Wow.
Here.
So Stetson Bennett goes around the left side. Number 59 and number 2 going along with him. They did not throw a single block. All 3 players just sort of strolled into the end zone. It is 23-7. Georgia about to kick this extra point here.
Extra point pending, and I'll say this. With or without the extra point, this game seems to just be over at this point.
Yes. So I definitely think that this next drive will define the game. If TCU can't keep up, Georgia could easily win this by 28 or 35 if they want to. It just depends on when they start running the ball. Maybe they'll start running the clock out in the 3rd quarter.
That poses the question, though, even if they do score, can TCU's defense make enough stops against the Georgia offense for their offense to come back?
I would say no. TCU's defense has got to get they've got to get interceptions. They've got to get turnovers. That's the only way they won that Michigan game was 2 pick sixes. Without those pick sixes, it's a completely different game, and they are not here.
And just as we said at the beginning of the game, midway through the first quarter, you have to steal plays if you're TCU. Not just on offense now. You're going to have to steal some on defense. You have to get those turnovers. You have to force a big fumble, get them in negative territory, pin them if you punt. You're going to have to steal a few plays here and there. Georgia by far looking like the superior team.
Yeah, TCU doesn't look like they belong here, to be honest. They just don't.
And I don't think it's the lack of or the moment being too big for TCU. I just don't think dynamically as a whole they are as good of a team as Georgia.
Yeah, so if you look at the schedule, if you look at how TCU played all year, it was a struggle to get here. It was a struggle for them to beat teams that were nowhere near as good as Georgia. And a lot of people thought that the only way they made it into playoffs to start with was the lack of talent that they played all year. And the college football voting committee does not want to put two lost elite teams in the football playoff. And maybe one loss teams sneak in that really aren't very good and they get exposed.
It's hard to ever judge some of these, college football teams when they're not playing the same level of competition as maybe some of these SEC teams that go undefeated and make it to the college championship game. Because we know what they have. They play the top tier talent all through the year. They went undefeated. Um, they've been very consistent against these good teams as well. So it's hard to gauge what TCU really had against these type of elite teams. Now we're seeing that they're just outclassed on both sides of the ball.
And you know what? That could be something that changes in the future. We've all heard about all these teams are sort of migrating to major conferences, and maybe that will set up certain teams. If you want to be a part of this college football playoff, you can set yourself up to play much better teams than in the past to sort of prove that you deserve to be there.
And I think even if you don't make a change such as that one, something that needs to happen almost immediately is you need to incorporate larger seeding for these college football playoffs. Some of these teams that are missing out, I think, would definitely make a more of an entertaining playoff bracket here.
Yeah, like an 8-team playoff. Give the guys up top, some bye weeks. They deserved it. They went undefeated. If a team has one or two losses, maybe they had some injuries. Maybe they got better as the season went on. They deserve to be forced to win some extra games to prove they deserve to be there with the big guys that beat everybody on their schedule. Plus, it's going to make money. It gets the fans more involved. If your team loses one or two games, you're already out. You're done. It's like Alabama. Alabama lost 2 games by combined 5 points by two very good teams. You have some of these teams that may have lost one game by Ohio State. Ohio State lost one game this year. They lost by like 24 points. They got destroyed, and they still got to play in the playoffs.
I'm all for breaking up the college football playoff monotony and Alabama not making the college football championship for once. I'm all for it, but I do believe that if there were one or two more seeds there, I think Alabama would have been one of the teams to get in there.
Yeah, definitely. It's good to see different teams in the college football playoffs, but I want to see the talent. I want to see the best teams actually make it, and sometimes the best teams lose a game by, 1, 2, or 3 points. And if maybe they would have been here, be a different story. It's just more entertaining to see more teams have a chance to go all the way.
I just think simply a four-team college football playoff bracket does not allow the flexibility for some of these teams that deserve to be here to get in, and I think that really, I think it really, I guess you can say, doesn't give college football the ability to be um, I guess, the same type of intrigue for some fans when it comes to the playoffs, because you don't have some of these teams that can come from a low seeding and I guess really make a splash, make a run in the playoffs here.
24-7, Georgia. 8:26 left in the game. These commercial breaks are incredibly long. I guess ESPN's making their money. TCU offense on the field.
It might be
Dugan is
cold
alone
now.
in the shotgun.
It might be cold now after that break.
We got
That
five
was
wide
a
receivers.
tremendously long break. It looks like they're just going to drop
Great.
back and throw here.
Oh,
A
wow.
lot of protection.
Dugan runs up the middle for a 1-yard gain. So
You know what?
great pass protection.
And that 1 yard gain was all Georgia's secondary there. He made all 5 reads. It looks like he went through his whole progression, and everyone was absolutely smothered there. Fantastic job by Georgia's secondary coming up big. No blown coverages. TCU does stay with the run.
Oh,
And it was
another
a fairly
great
good run there.
About
7
a-
yards.
7-yard run. Flag on the play, though. Is this the first flag of the game?
Nope. The one that got TCU a first down in the.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And that one goes against them there. A holding call on number 56 for TCU. Wipes out a 7-yard run.
TCU's going to have to play a perfect game here, and even if they do that, it may be too little too late.
We do absolutely see an obvious holding call there on that on the center.
Shotgun running back to his left. 3 wide receivers to his left as well. It's like Alabama's in zone.
2nd and 15. Fantastic throw right there to get about, what do you say?
About 6 yards, it looks like. Alabama sort of gave it to him underneath on a route out to the left sideline.
But he made the right read. You have to take it. Give yourself a third and at least
It's 3rd and 7.
at least something achievable there. 3rd and medium.
He has got to push the ball down the field. He has got to throw the ball into tight coverage. He can't hold on to that ball just because no one's wide open. He's got to let his guys make some plays.
3rd and 7. They're playing off about 5 yards on the right side.
Ooh,
Looks like
he
he's going
throws the
deep.
bomb. Intercepted. What a play by number 22.
Receiver number 1 with the tackle. That's about where a punt would have been, I would say.
Yeah, looks like it. Looks like it's the 20-something
But the
maybe.
stats look good.
So let's see. TCU had the ball at their own 23-yard line there.
The Georgia player with the interception was also the player with the fumble recovery in the first
Yeah.
quarter.
That ball was terribly overthrown. Probably overthrown up the field by 5 yards.
I think there was just desperation there for him to get something.
Yeah, he was just slinging it deep. His guy was there. It was just a bad throw. Handoff to Bowers, number 19, around the left side. Looks to be for about 10 yards.
He's been active in motion so far in this game. Also, I'll regress and say I do not believe, regardless of which team was here, even if the bracket was bigger, that any team would be probably able to contend with Georgia here in this game.
Well, Ohio State surprised everybody last week that they made a track meet come down to one play. No one really expected that. If anything, they may have expected a 27-24 game.
Hold it around. I wonder what the offensive leadership saying there. You're gonna have to go steal some points at this point to have any chance of coming back.
Ooh, 2nd and 1. Great penetration. Georgia tries to run the ball up the middle. TCU all over it.
Looks
Probably
like
going to be about a
gain of
3rd and
nothing.
2 now.
I wouldn't call that a 3rd and medium.
Yeah, definitely.
3rd and 1.
They're still saying it's 3rd and 1. I didn't think he got back, but
That might be Bennett.
oh wow! And they throw screen pass, about a 2 or 3 yard gain, 3 yard gain, 1st and 10, Georgia. That was definitely something that could have gone wrong. That was pick six material written all over it, but Georgia converted. You definitely think that the dominant team there would just hand the ball off and get the first down. That was quite a risk. Wow, Georgia hands the ball off. Just a gaping hole. 13-yard gain.
Down to the TCU 30. 4 minutes and counting left here in the half. No penetration whatsoever there by the defensive lineman.
So number 6 was not contacted by a TCU player until he had ran for about 7 yards.
Great point by McAfee there. I think both sides, a couple broken tackles there. Number 6 for about a 6-yard gain, but it may be coming back from offensive holding. You know, these offensive and defensive linemen are just exhausted. They've been on the field for a large portion of this game.
Yeah, Georgia's definitely gotten more offensive plays in.
Could have done without that call.
You know, this is a national championship game. This is also for entertainment as well. It's 24-7. Maybe the refs throw in a few flags here and there just to try to keep this game a little close, to make Georgia earn it. Probably about a 5-yard run there by number 30, Edwards.
Number 57 linebacker with the stop.
2nd and 15, Georgia. 2:52 left on the clock. The clock is ticking.
And although this game is getting away from TCU, I think any chance you might have is really holding them to a field goal attempt here. Even if converted, a 20-point game is still a 3-score game. You let it get too much further than that, and it might be too little too late even if you do something.
Oh, a bomb deep, a contested throw. Wow! Okay, they're calling that out of bounds. Let's see if he got 1 foot down. So as you know, in college, he just needs to drag 1 foot. That was number 84 with a great grab.
I think Bennett just let him just a little bit out.
Yep, his foot is out of bounds. He's probably out of bounds by about 3 inches.
Little update here. Bennett is 11 for 14 for 164 yards. He does have 2 rushing touchdowns and 1 passing touchdown.
So just to make things clear, Georgia was at their 36, and Bennett throws a bomb down the right sideline to number 84. Probably would have been down at the 1-yard line. It was a great catch, but he was just out of bounds.
5 seconds left on the play clock here. Bennett gets it off at 1. He drops back.
Boom. What a throw.
Number 19. And he's still chugging along to about the TCU 12 with 2 minutes and 17 seconds.
Bennett throws a laser to number 19 Bowers over the middle.
The yards after catch there were pretty nice as well. Now it looks like they're being fairly aggressive. It looks like he caught it at the 20 and got down to the 12. 8 yards after catch, and he was touched immediately. Way to stay up and keep his legs moving there.
It looks
I'd
like
say you want to take every bit of this clock.
Absolutely.
Here.
I'm going to
Give
say if
TCU
I'm
no
Georgia,
chance to breathe.
if I'm Georgia, I'll run the ball here.
Looks like they're going to take the clock and take a timeout here. Georgia's first timeout of the half. TCU still has all three of theirs. 1st and 10 at TCU 12. We go to a break.
You know, normally I would say that I would run the ball to try to get the clock low, but you're dominating them so well on defense. Maybe you punch it in. Maybe you see if they're going to be overly aggressive. They could throw a pick deep in their own territory, and you're just so good. You got all your timeouts. You try to walk back down again.
You know, I think honestly with you, man, I think you just take what you can get here. You take any points. If they come in the form of a touchdown here, next play, it doesn't matter. There's a minute and 40 left on the clock. Your defense has proven that they have able to hold TCU. I don't see TCU mounting an 80-yard drive with a minute left, minute and a half left in the half. As far as trends go, it definitely wouldn't prove that that would be something that would be logical right now.
These commercial breaks are killing us. Do you want to talk about any NFL news, any who's playing who, any playoff predictions?
Yeah, absolutely. The stage is set for the NFL playoffs for anyone who is intrigued with that as well. Wild Card weekend looks like it's going to be a good one here. We have some divisional matchups within the AFC. We have Ravens at Cincinnati.
Who do you have on that if Lamar plays? Give me a score.
Yeah, I think if Lamar Jackson plays, we're looking at a still a close game, maybe 3-4 point win there with the in favor of the Ravens. I think they're going to have to go on the road. Same thing here with TCU. They're going to have to steal some things here. They're going to I think since signing Roquan Smith, they've been the number 2 defense in NFL. They have not had Lamar Jackson back in the offense with J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards healthy for 2 years now. So you're going to see how that running game goes. You're going to have to steal some turnovers there from Joe Burrow on that potent Cincinnati offense.
And, that's part of his game. He can have some turnovers sometimes. I think the Ravens do have a path to victory. I mean, if you look, though, at the whole year, the Ravens' offense has really had a lot of problems, but they're definitely running the ball a lot better now. They're getting back to Ravens football. They do have a path to victory. All right, back to the College Football National Championship game. TCU versus Georgia. Let's see, looks like Georgia is at the 12. Come out fast, snap the ball. Number 30 up the left side to the left sideline.
And, you can't help but notice that they just get the edge every
Absolutely.
run play there. And that's huge.
They
when
get
it comes
beat
to those
badly.
outside runs.
They've got spare blockers out there with no one to block. They're beating TCU so bad. So it is 2nd and 3. God.
And I think here you just run it.
Absolutely. Just keep pounding it in. You don't throw it till you have to. They've ran the ball in with Stetson Bennett twice already anyway.
I wouldn't be surprised to see a third one here.
Yeah, definitely, because I think TCU's having to sell out if they think they're going to stop anything.
It's another run, straight up the middle to about the 1.
It will now be 1st and goal, Georgia. 1:31 left. Clock is now ticking.
I think you take this down to below the minute mark, probably about 50 seconds. Oh, he wanted that.
Yeah, so he actually got inside the 1. He extended pretty well.
Great extension, keeping himself up, keeping the balance there. Running back down to about the half-yard line.
1:18 left in the game. I guess we have a timeout by someone.
Looks like TCU here trying to take a timeout.
Wow.
Maybe thinking they can...
TCU's going to try to press this ball down the field. They're desperate right now. It'd be interesting to see what happens if Georgia pushes this one in and if TCU sort of gets overly aggressive and maybe turns the ball over.
And, thinking about it there, though, that might be the only hope for TCU. At this point, it looks like Georgia's going to score the touchdown.
Yes.
You're going to have to go take
They've got to make
points.
this gamble. They've got to trade scores with them. I think Georgia gets the ball to start the half. Is that correct? Or
I believe
no?
you're right.
So what do you think about that Miami Buffalo game if Tua starts?
Again, another divisional game there in the AFC. I think we're looking at some good matchups here. I just don't think the Dolphins are going to have the power to contend with the Bills. I know they took one from them early in the year, a very close, exciting divisional game there, but I just don't see the Dolphins trending in the right directions going into the playoff there.
I think if Tua
Um,
doesn't play, Buffalo could beat them by 24 points.
yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
with Tua in the game, I don't understand what it is. I don't know why no other quarterback can just throw the ball to Tyreek Hill and Waddle and let them take it for 60 yards. But there's something about Tua in the game where he can get that ball to those guys and they can score anywhere on the field if they've
And
got the
that's
ball.
always a benefit there for Miami. I don't think Miami's defense is going to be able to consistently stop that Buffalo offense the way that Miami or that Buffalo may be able to stop that Miami offense, rather.
Yeah, Buffalo's they've had a good defense all year, but like we've talked about before, sometimes Buffalo just doesn't they underachieve. And I just don't get it. They're so good, but sometimes they just don't show up.
But no matter what we think right now, when you're playing a divisional rival who sees you twice a year, every single year, you throw the records out the window. This is the third matchup they're going to play this year. You know how the Buffalo plays if you're the Dolphins. You know how the Dolphins play if you're Buffalo. I think it's there's going to be no trickery, no tomfoolery there. It's head to head. You know what they're doing. You have to go out there and you got to earn that game. It's going to be a tough fought divisional game regardless, and I think it might be a little closer than we think.
Yeah, all the
That's as
way
long
back in week
as
3, Josh Allen throws for 400 yards and still loses the game.
Yep. Do you recall that was the one where he wasn't able to get up in and clock the ball before time expired,
Yeah.
right there in Miami
Was that the one where
territory?
he threw the ball into the ground to Isaiah McKenzie on the right side of the field, wide open, threw the ball into the ground? And then they beat Miami 32 to 29 in their second meeting in December. All right, we are back to the 2023 College Football National Championship game. Georgia is lined up, shotgun, one running back in the backfield, number 19 in motion.
Running back
Looks
to
like
the
a
left
run
side. It looks
here,
like a handoff,
and
and he's in.
easy. 30 to 7, touchdown, number 2 for Georgia.
30-7, extra point pending. Georgia's on top, and they look dominant. This could be 50-7, and I wouldn't be surprised.
It just depends on how much time Georgia runs off the clock, really. They could go into handoff mode in the second half, run the ball 25 times if they want to, and still win by 3 or 4 scores.
This is going to be a rough trek this second half for TCU to try to mount this comeback.
Extra point is good. 31 to 7, Georgia. 1:19 left in the second quarter.
I actually think it starts here, not in the second half. I think you have to go take some points here.
They've got to be desperate. They must score. They have not stopped Georgia. Georgia has 0 punts, correct? Georgia has done nothing but score. Stetson Bennett has been absolutely dominant. The TCU defense has gotten, a few stops against the run, which is sort of surprising. They've been in the backfield on the run, but they have no answer for the pass. None.
No, I'll say something that I don't often say as a more conservative football fan or analyst here. I think most of the time I would say you have to be conservative. You have to be careful to not turn the ball over here. I completely disagree. You throw that out the window here. You have to push the ball down the field. I think going into the half, 7-38, if you were to turn the ball over and Georgia were to score again, is to me a small risk to take considering you're already down by multiple scores. You have to push the ball down the field and hope you can get in the end zone yourself with 2 minutes here.
Yeah, they're being dominated in such a way that they have got to score here. They must.
And he may ran 40 yards right there just to get back to the 20.
Yep.
Just nothing there.
And Dugan can run. We're going to see they're going to probably be trying to throw deep. If they can get some sort of pass protection, maybe there's a running lane for Dugan, the quarterback for TCU, to pick up possibly 20 yards. And in college football, when you get a first down, the clock stops until a ball is set. He does not have to shove this ball down the field. He can run.
The difference between a 24-point lead and a 30-plus point lead going into the half is not too much for TCU. They're going to have to push the ball down the field and hope to take this to about a 2-score game, and that's not going to do it. 1 yard pass play, maybe 2.
Yeah, so Dugan was pressured. I think 4 men came after him. He just throws short to the running back, 2nd and 8.
And it looks like Georgia has a lot of men coming in, sending somebody off the right side, and they've
got Dugan for the sack.
Georgia is not afraid to be out there on islands with some of those guys, even in obvious passing plays. They're not worried that he's going to push the ball down the field and actually make a substantial play, which is completely different than what we saw in the first quarter.
Yeah, so Georgia's just flexing their dominance here. He's going to have to throw the ball up and try to make something happen. You're not going to beat Georgia being conservative. You will have to make plays.
And, at this point, the interesting thing here is if Georgia really wants to, they can send pressure again, either hope to have them make a mistake or have them punt the ball here without any more time coming off the clock. And Georgia should be able to field that ball, decent field position with about 35 seconds left and a timeout of their own.
Yeah, so I'm curious what TCU does here. Are they going to just run this ball, try to make Georgia, see if Georgia wants to use a timeout and get the ball back?
Now, I think the risk there is too big for Georgia, though. I think you have to take it to the half. There's no reason to make any mistake. Not that there would be, because they haven't so far on offense.
It would be foolish to try to pile on if you get the ball back, because if I'm TCU, I want you to drop back and throw. I want you to be aggressive.
You want there to be a chance.
Yeah, maybe you're a little too comfortable what you're doing out there, and that's why you throw that pick six.
Stetson Bennett with the snap at the 12.
Oh, Dugan.
Oh, excuse me, Dugan.
Pick!
And there's a pick.
Interception. See, that's what we talked about when TCU called that timeout when Georgia was at the 1. So, are they planning on Georgia scoring, getting the ball back, and maybe they'll be a little bit too aggressive and throw that interception deep in their own field? And it just happened. And now, I'm curious. Will Georgia try to score a touchdown?
I do think if you're Georgia, you have the opportunity to score points here, regardless of what type of points those are. Now you're at the 21 of TCU, 23 maybe of TCU. You're already in field goal range here.
So, I tell Stetson Bennett, force nothing. Force nothing. I think this game is already over. But people never say that. It's not over till it's over. This is terrible. This is dominance.
This sure feels over.
And they're throwing the ball. Stetson Bennett to the end zone.
And that was risky.
That was very risky.
Now, do I think it makes a difference if he picks the ball at the 1 there? No. Maybe for statistics there. But I think Georgia
going
wants
out there.
it all
They're playing
now.
to win. They're playing like they're going to destroy them.
I think Georgia wants to win here. Now, I think if he led him a little more, I think
Absolutely.
That's a touchdown. There was single coverage. There was nobody else there.
It was tight coverage, but the touchdown was there had he led him into the throw. He threw the ball to him, and that allowed the defender to make a play.
Now, there's a chance that they continue to throw here.
They're throwing the football. This is fun. They're going deep to the end zone.
And he got
touchdown,
it.
number 5.
Ty goes to the runner there. Ty goes to the offense.
So both
simultaneous
players
catch. They're going to call that a touchdown.
Yes, this will be reviewed, but I'm pretty sure the offensive player had his hands on that football a quarter of a second before the defender did.
And even if not, the tie will go to the
Absolutely.
offense there. That's
Dual
going to be a
possession.
Georgia touchdown.
Dual possession is awarded to the receiver.
That's
Absolutely.
absolutely a touchdown
So
there.
the Georgia man has two hands on the ball. The TCU defender looked to have one hand trapped underneath the ball when the Georgia wide receiver had two hands on it.
And the only time possession was completely changed is when the Georgia receiver was rolled over. When the TCU receiver corner took possession of the football. That to me is an obvious touchdown. Body in, no ball movement, clear possession, all the way through the catch.
Yeah,
That's going to be a
so
touchdown.
yes, so the Georgia guy has two hands on the ball. His body's down on the ground.
Confirmed touchdown, extra point upcoming. It's up, and it's good. And just like that, Georgia going into the half, 31-point superiors in this
And
game.
that was a little bit
Absolute
surprising. That's the kind of play you
domination.
see in Madden, where you just have no respect for the other guy at all. You're just going to go out there and you're going to stomp this guy. The smart play was you're winning, don't do anything dumb. You're giving them a chance at a pick six. They drop back and they throw three times, and now they're up by 31.
And so you know what I think that was there? Not that TCU had a chance in the world, but if they did, that was a spirit breaker.
Oh,
That didn't just break their chances statistically. I think that broke their will.
they're crushed.
I think that play broke the will of TCU. I don't think there's any chance that they're able to mount a comeback here. That
So,
was,
what do you think this all does for Stetson Bennett? This has been like a perfect game.
yeah, absolute domination on the biggest stage.
Stetson Bennett has been seen as a game manager. He's been seen as a quarterback that plays for an outstanding team, not a good quarterback that plays for a great team.
He's made outstanding passes tonight. He's shown athleticism, which, as you can see in the NFL, TCU with the run back, it looked like he had some penetration there about to the 25. I say they're going to let this go to half here. I don't think you
Oh,
risk
yeah,
anything.
absolutely.
There's nothing to really gain, I don't think.
But when you look at Stetson Bennett, one thing he does really well, you have guys that talk about how fast they are. They'll talk about how far they can throw. But Stetson Bennett does one thing that really matters when you're a quarterback. He plays quarterback really well.
His decision making has been fantastic tonight. Even on those quarterback keepers, he keeps when he has the lane. He hands the ball off to the running back when he doesn't.
He's the kind of guy that, yeah, before this game, this might be a surprise. People think maybe he's like a fourth or fifth rounder just because there's nothing that wows people. But then there's nothing that wowed people about Tom Brady either. He just goes out there and he plays football.
There's a lot to be said about someone that puts on a performance this dominant in a game that means this much.
Yeah, someone that was a walk-on, I do believe.
It's very easy for some players to crack under the pressure of the moment. The moment's too big for those players. This is not one of those situations here with Stetson Bennett. He's absolutely showed up and showed out. He looks dominant. And I can't think of a single moment in this game where he looked vulnerable.
Not at all. Even when they had pressure, he turned that into a first down.
And for those who haven't watched any of the game and they're just listening to the stream here, he has looked cool, calm, and collected all game. I said that back in the first. And honestly, from the first possession, from the first snap, he did not look like the moment was too big, and I think that's huge. When you go to TCU, will run it out here. This probably should take it to half. They just get over the 30.
So Stetson Bennett, 13 for 17, 213 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, no interceptions, 2 rushing touchdowns, 39 rushing yards.
How efficient is that? That's great.
It's fantastic.
And for only 13 completions, 219 yards is quite a bit there.
Let me see what Bennett did in last week's game.
So what's your opinion? What do you think that TCU needs to do after half,
I
regardless of
think
how
they've got to
insurmountable
go.
the deficit here?
Well, it also depends on, is Georgia going to start running the football? Uh, if you can make Georgia throw the ball for some reason, you've got to play man coverage and you have got to send so much heat that you get tipped passes, you force him to make a bad throw, you've got to get a pick six, you've got to get a turnover. Anytime you have an opportunity, you've got to try to strip this football. You've got to force a turnover because there's no way they don't score 14 more points if they want to. I mean, I think that they can score another 28 if they want to, minimum.
And as a lover of all things football, I've always been of the proponent to do what got you there. Um, but I would not suggest that for Georgia. I think you just have to run the ball here as many times as you can, continue to break the will, win in the trenches, convert first downs. Points are not important at this point. Of course, if TCU were to start to mount a comeback, don't be too conservative. But you run the ball coming out of half here. Optimally, you take as much time off the clock. You run down the field here. After half if you're Georgia, and if you're TCU, it's like we've said all game, you have to steal points at this point.
You've got to gamble. You cannot play conservative on either side of the football. At this point, I would call this the greatest comeback in college football playoff history, championship history. They're going to have to make history, which I sort of think they already did. They shouldn't have been here. No one thought that they would have been here. They've done an unbelievable thing just to be in this game. But from the first drive of the game, you could easily tell these teams are not even.
Now, does this to you say more about the TCU team or more about the Georgia team?
I think Georgia's who we thought they were, the best team in college football, and they've shown it.
I think TCU has had a fantastic season. They should not have been here, in my opinion. They proved a lot of people wrong. They made it anyway. But I think this says everything about the Georgia Bulldogs. It shows that in the biggest moments, they will step up and not only win, but absolutely dominate the competition. And this competition is at the biggest stage, the biggest level of the game here.
I mean, Georgia's just walked through everyone they played all year. To open the season, Georgia, number 11 Oregon at the time, beat them 49-3. And Georgia playing number 1 Tennessee in November, dominating them 27-13. Then Georgia in the SEC championship game, dominating LSU, that had a chance to make the college football playoff with a win, just dominating them 50-30. The only game they really had all year was Ohio State. But
Yeah.
it should be a game. It's the college football playoffs. Ohio State looked like they deserved to be there. TCU, absolutely not.
And let's not forget that Tennessee win was huge for so many reasons. They were both undefeated going into that game, and Tennessee had just, they'd come off some good wins. They had definitely overachieved, in my opinion. They beat Alabama.
Absolutely.
Earlier in the
So,
season.
to me, Tennessee has no defense. And I don't think you can be the best team in the nation with no defense to speak of. They won a track meet, and teams like that, they lose 2 or 3 games a year. They just do. Unless you're the best offense of all time, you are probably going to lose at some point if your defense is that bad. But anyway, speaking of TCU, they backed into the college football playoffs. They actually lost their last game of the, I guess it was their conference championship game, and they got in. They lose 31-28 in overtime to Kansas.
And Kansas is not Georgia.
Correct. TCU did beat some good teams. They beat Oklahoma, number 19th ranked Kansas, number 8 ranked Oklahoma State. They beat Kansas State earlier in the year. They beat 5 ranked teams, but
But were those ranked teams the same level of competition that not only Georgia faces every year, but the same level of competition of Georgia?
yeah, so, you know, people talk about the SEC being overrated, but you're really playing professional level prospects. Team, like the backup running back, the backup quarterback in the SEC is a professional level prospect.
And a starter in some other places in college
Absolutely.
football.
Which is something I really like about this transfer portal because you saw teams like Georgia, LSU, and Alabama just stacking players, completely
Opportunity.
pulling the talent out of college football.
Absolute domination. Georgia with 3 turnovers on TCU, 4 for 5 on third downs to TCU's 1 for 5. Double the yards per play, and obviously more than double the score, 38-7 at half.
Almost triple the total yardage.
Absolute domination here.
354 to 121. And the score reflects it.
I would never say over till it's over, but I think I hear the fat lady singing here. I don't see any situation where TCU is able to come back. That would involve not only scoring points, but stopping Georgia from scoring points, and that just has not happened this game. I think, like you've mentioned a bit earlier, I don't think Georgia's punted the ball.
Correct. Georgia has not punted the ball. Georgia has only been held to one field goal. Yep, one field goal, 5 touchdowns, one field goal, and I believe that was off of the TCU fumble earlier in the game to make it 10-0. That seems so long ago now.
And
I,
just to recap, that first touchdown was a Stetson Bennett touchdown to the left side on a quarterback keeper. We had I think a huge busted play in the secondary for TCU for his second touchdown.
it was a
Um,
so for you mean TCU scoring
I mean,
touchdown?
I mean, Georgia's second touchdown.
Okay, yep,
The busted
yes,
play in the secondary. Then we had another passing touchdown, another Stetson Bennett short rushing touchdown where he had the 2 lead blockers that did not block at all.
correct. His
Um,
2 lead blockers just joined him in the stroll into the end zone.
and then that fifth Georgia touchdown there was the 1 yard run by the running back there to the
Correct. I
right
don't know if it
side
was
up the middle.
McIntosh or who it was, but TCU has 121 total yards, and they got half of that yardage on one play. They have one 60-yard pass, and that was basically what was responsible for their one scoring drive. Other than that, just absolute dominance by Georgia on defense.
And I mean, if you can find any fault in Georgia throughout the whole game, that's what you have to point at right there is that busted coverage. Everything else has been perfection, and on the other side of the ball, you really can't find any fault. No punts, 38 points, 5 touchdowns to a field goal. That field goal attempt or the field goal conversion was probably the only hiccup there, only blemish on the resume of that Georgia offense this game, which has been utter domination.
And I really think TCU had to look at the blueprint that Ohio State used to. Ohio State probably should have won that game. After Marvin Harrison Jr. went out, it was a completely different ball game. But you had that Ohio State has the caliber of wide receivers that will be in the NFL, and I don't know that you see this on this TCU team at all.
And another thing we see is and although with college football being ever changing, some people don't deem it to be important. But you see the teams that have been there before, the teams that have made it. Ohio State has been there. They have the prestige, they have the history, they have been there. Um, it's a lot more frequent for Ohio State to be in these big moments to face that level of competition. And although TCU has been decent before, you don't see Texas Christian as the same caliber of football team in college football as Ohio State.
Absolutely, and that's because who goes to Texas Christian? People who are not good enough to go to Ohio State. There are a few people in Texas. If you live in Texas, what is your hierarchy of places you want to go if you're good? Texas, Texas Tech. I don't know where TCU is on that list, but it's not very high.
So while we're at halftime, let's get back to some of these NFL games here in the
Let's
here for
talk
the
about the
wild card
playoff
weekend.
bracket. Wow. Okay. I didn't. I- If I'm reading this correctly, is there a Monday night playoff game?
So it's looking like Monday night, number 5 Dallas Cowboys at the number 4 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which is an absolute abomination that the NFL allows um, a team with 12 wins who, in a lot of divisions, would have won their division to have to go on the road and play a team that is one game over 500 here. Well, there's no 500, but
Oh no, they're one game under.
oh yeah, 8-9, not
Yeah,
9-8.
8-9.
There you go. So yeah,
Tom
so even
Brady's only losing season in the NFL. God, and even that last game didn't look very good. I think he had about 4.9 yards per pass attempt. It looked bad.
not at all losing to the 6-win Falcons.
Correct. The Falcons ran all over them. I
And
guess
if you recall, that could have been a season sweep back the first time the Atlanta Falcons were at home versus Tampa Bay. Atlanta got called with that egregious
roughing the
roughing the
passer call,
call,
and that would have
giving
given
them
the
a
ball back.
chance,
Maybe it was 21-15, I do believe.
giving them a chance to go win the game.
Yeah, they had a chance to push the ball down the field and win the game. There's just something wrong with the Buccaneers offense.
But I'll say this though, the Cowboys have not looked as dominant on defense this last half of the year.
And Dak has not looked good.
And he's looked horrific. And if there's anyone that can take advantage of an opportunity there in the playoffs, it could be Tom Brady, Mike Evans, and that team. I think that there's a chance that the Buccaneers could get that game, and I wouldn't put it past Tom Brady to be bigger in the moment than Dak Prescott is.
Absolutely. Dallas has a good team. Two good running backs. I think Tony Pollard is a great running back. CeeDee Lamb, I think, is a very good to great wide receiver. I don't know about Dalton Schultz's health, but Dak just hasn't looked good lately.
He has not, and I think that shows in that loss to the Redskins there with that pick six, horrific. Like I said, they really backed themselves into the playoffs there, and maybe it wouldn't have mattered seeding wise. They weren't going to move and win the division. They weren't going to go below the 5th seed. But I still think that's a game, if you're going to have your starters in, you still need to perform better than that against the bottom of your division there.
Absolutely.
So,
I don't know. Maybe if there's I don't know. You say maybe if there's a team I want to play to sort of get things going again, it's the Buccaneers. But they still have Tom Brady, and Tom Brady could show up.
And I think they also have the most underrated receiver in football. When we talk top five, top tens, we very rarely talk Mike Evans, but he's consistently been a performer, an overachiever, even with bad quarterbacks in the past before the Tom Brady years. And, the only receiver to start his first 9 season with 1,000-yard seasons.
Yep, it's Mike Evans.
Absolutely impressive there. So on to the number 6 New York Giants, who is refreshing to see in the playoffs again, going to Minnesota to play the number 3 seeded Minnesota Vikings and Kirk Cousins.
I definitely feel like Minnesota should win this game, but Minnesota's won, 10 games this year by one score?
Yeah, so
this could be where their luck runs out.
So I saw a statistic, and I could butcher this a bit, but I'd say I get it close. They are the only 13-win team to have a negative point differential in NFL history.
That is unbelievable.
The closest that existed in the NFL since, I guess, statistics like this were kept was about a 60 point differential. And that's number 2 lowest for a 13-win team was plus 60. They are -3.
They have some great players on offense.
They absolutely
Their wide receivers are very good, but sometimes there's underachievement.
I think what happens there is, as talented as Thielen and KJ Osborne are right there as accessory pieces behind Justin Jefferson, I think sometimes they just get lost, and all you have is Justin Jefferson.
Oh, and Hawkinson, right?
You also have Hawkinson.
Wow, they loaded
there.
up. They loaded. They're ready to make a run. And if they don't make a run with these pieces, it is not going to happen.
And, they have no slouches at running back either. Alexander Madison might be a top
he's an insert
backup
piece. Cook goes out, insert him. You probably get 90-95% the same guy.
And I think he starts for 14, 15 other teams in the NFL with mediocre running backs.
Yes.
Alexander Madison's
he could easily be a 1,200-yard, 10-touchdown guy for another team.
I think I have Minnesota overcoming them there, but I think it's going to be a little closer than it should be.
Yeah, I agree. Minnesota's going to try to stop Saquon. New York Giants really don't have anyone to throw the football to. I think the New York Giants' only hope is to keep this game below 20 points.
Another Sunday afternoon game coming to you at noon, Miami Dolphins, Buffalo Bills. We briefly touched on this earlier. I think it's a bit too much to expect Miami Dolphins, who played a 6-9 or what was it, 11-6 game versus the Jets.
Yeah, so it was 9-6, and then I think they got a safety at the end of the game.
Right there at the end, something desperate by the Jets. I think it's a lot to ask them to overcome the Josh Allen-led Bills there.
I'll disagree and say that because of Tyreek Hill and Waddle, because they can score anywhere on the field, you can play a bad game on offense, and then they could make you 3 big touchdown plays when you're not doing anything with the ball just because you get them the ball. I'd still say Buffalo wins, but as long as Tua is in the game, they have a chance. But Buffalo should win that game. On both sides of the ball, Buffalo is a better team.
And I share the sentiment with you that those receivers are more than dynamic, and they can always put up points at any given moment. We'll just see how big that moment is for Tua if he does play. And although it is beneficial for those Dolphins for him to play, it can also be a detriment for him to get hurt again.
Can he make it through the whole game? What happens if he gets concussed again? Is he done?
Yeah, I think at that point you're looking at 4 here.
Unbelievable.
And
you can't pay this man. You can't pay this man hundreds of millions of dollars when he is always, anyone is one hit away from being knocked out of the game. But it's different for this guy. It's real.
Yeah, on to the Saturday night AFC showdown here with the only non-divisional game in the AFC wildcard weekend here. The number 5 Chargers against going to Jacksonville to play the number 4 AFC South champion Jacksonville Jaguars.
Even though the Chargers lost their last game, they did take their starting quarterback out of the game. I think they let Chase Daniels play. Chase Daniels did throw a touchdown. I don't know what was really happening with the Chargers on defense to give up that many points to the Broncos. That is scary. I would definitely say the Chargers should go into Jacksonville and win by 2 scores. But then looking at how well Denver did, Denver looked the way they should have looked all year. I think that Jerry Jeudy had 154 receiving yards or something like that.
I think
And
the
Jacksonville has capable
Chargers,
wide receivers. Capable.
surprisingly,
Capable wide
names that no
receivers.
one else wanted, right?
Yeah, Zay Jones. Who wanted Zay Jones? But they paid him like they wanted him.
And they paid Christian Kirk like he was a top receiver. Now, I think LA wins this game. I think they take one on the road, which is always important, whether it's by 1 or 100. You steal a road game, that's huge.
I think LA should win this by 13. Should.
They consistently underperform for a team as talented as they are. Austin Eckler, #1 in fantasy football, I believe.
And they did the same thing last year as well. I think they underperformed last year as well.
And this is actually Justin Herbert's first playoff game, so we'll see if he performs the way he performs in the regular season in the playoffs here. Likewise for Trevor Lawrence, two quarterbacks who are new to the playoffs here.
I definitely think that with the return of Keenan Allen, Justin Herbert has looked better. I would say statistically, he definitely had a disappointing year to me, even though he had a fine year. It wasn't like the mid to high 30 touchdown season that they thought he was going to have.
I also think it's important to remember there that that team was extremely beat up. At one point, they had Palmer and Guyton out there. Keenan Allen was hurt for most of the season, I believe, and Mike Evans had his
He had some kind of high ankle sprain or something.
yeah, that was from game one. Game one on.
Yeah, so they have been beat up. Herbert definitely not a bad year. Just about any other team would be happy with his performance. Is Will they have Bosa and Khalil Mack back?
Yeah, so Bosa's actually back. I think they activated him last week and let him ramp up here in this game against Denver, and I think that could pose a huge threat to that Jacksonville team, him coming off the edge, putting pressure on Trevor Lawrence, who I think, for all intents and purposes, the Jags are probably going to have to keep up with the Chargers to win.
Yeah, I agree.
And then the last game, or the first game rather, before we get back to this college football championship game here, coming back from halftime, the first game of the wild card weekend in the NFC, the #7 Seattle Seahawks versus the #2 San Francisco 49ers. I see no reason to discuss this game further. I think it's going to be an absolute domination here by the 49ers. I think they may be the best team in football, one of the hottest teams in football, surprisingly led by Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy.
Yeah, so both sides of the ball, I don't see a reason why. Seattle's definitely not a bad team. They, without a doubt, surprised people making the playoffs. They surprised people with, I think they had 9 wins. You maybe feel like that's a 4-win team.
Well, with Drew Lock, I think that was a 4-win team. Geno Smith not only overachieved, but I think he may have earned himself some years.
Absolutely, or at least an opportunity
someone.
to start next year. Yeah, so I think San Francisco by 17. All right, well, we're back to the third quarter of the 2023 College Football National Championship game. It is 38-7 Georgia, 14-36. Georgia starts the second half with a 6-yard run. It is 2nd and 4 at their own 31-yard line.
And just as we talked about here, Brian, Georgia comes out running here, good penetration, over a 5-yard run. Here they are running the ball again. Only about a yard here, but we see what they want to do.
So
Um,
this is a situation where this is the only situation where I see Georgia throwing the ball in the whole second half.
this
Third
also
and 3, maybe they run it again, but TCU has stopped the run this game.
this may be the only situation as well where we see them punting.
Oh, yep. Well, Stetson Bennett's back in shotgun, empty backfield. Let's see what they do here.
Maybe bring a
Bennett has
man
some
in
legs.
motion. No men in motion. Yeah, here you go. Number 6 in motion, giving you an option right there. They threw a quick slant. It was
Ooh.
in the air. That could have been a pick by TCU, giving them good field position. The ball hits the ground, much to Georgia's delight, and they will punt the ball for the first time here in this game.
This is what TCU had to have.
Yeah, and honestly, I think I hate to say it, but it may be too little, too late here.
Oh,
Even if
without a doubt. No one thinks TCU is going to stop this team 5 times and put up 5 touchdowns. But if it's going to happen, that's how it has to happen.
so there you go. So it's going to be a flag. It takes a Georgia bounce here. An absolutely fantastic bounce out here at the 20 of
Ball is out of bounds at the
TCU.
20. We'll see what the flag is.
That was a great bounce there. The refs are discussing this flag here on the field. Pat McAfee knows a little something about punting. Maybe he knows. So it looks like we have a holding here on TCU. That's not going to help them here. After that good bounce there, look at maybe half the distance to the goal.
I'm not sure how that works because I thought they could elect to. Can they elect to repunt, or do they have half the distance, or is your only option to repunt?
I would almost say if they give you the option, I still wouldn't take it. That took a good Georgia
Oh,
bounce
absolutely.
there. And it looks like maybe the offense for TCU is going to be out there. So 10 yards or half the distance is still to the 10. So I would say that's where the play should be there. That's correct.
It is a 10-yard penalty. TCU has the ball at their own 10-yard line. 13:30 left to go in the third quarter.
And they are not
TCU
afraid to
is
still run the ball.
running the football, and it is for no gain. I would just put this clock management to pen and paper and see if mathematically it is possible to do anything but throw the football if you have a chance to win. You're about to see 10 possessions, and they're going to have to score on all 5 of theirs and stop Georgia on their 5 possessions.
And here we have Georgia blitzing, and that 4-yard passing play is not going to help you much. 2 plays for TCU are coming here out of half after a stop on Georgia here for their first punt, and they've net 5 yards maybe on offense here.
They must push this football down the field. You may even see them go for it on 4th down here. That is the kind of desperation it is. I don't think they need to worry about if they get beat by 100. They need to play like they're trying to win the game.
So right here you have Georgia blitzing 6, a lot of pressure. No chance on that slant there. It was high behind. I think just to save face, they punt here.
I think they'll punt, but they had to have that. They finally stopped Georgia on offense, and then they just give them a 3 and out.
I think them stopping Georgia is a little bit more about Georgia allowing them to stop them
conservative play
bit.
calling, running the clock.
But I will say that looked like the corner there could have trapped that arm of that receiver.
I'm surprised the ref didn't throw a flag. If it's even close at this point, and if it can help TCU stay in the game, I think you throw that flag. Because this is about entertainment. And the entertainment is gone unless you're a Georgia fan that wants to enjoy seeing someone get stomped. We're on a commercial break right now. So what do you think about Stetson Bennett going into the draft? I mean, realistically, do you think that he could be one of these guys? So you remember Baker Mayfield, and then you remember Kyler Murray. Yeah, they were guys that you talked about going in the third round or later, and then when you got closer to the draft, they just worked their way up to number one. Now, I definitely don't think anyone is willing to take Stetson Bennett over the Alabama or Ohio State quarterback, but he's definitely the number three guy to me.
You know, I think to answer your question there, I think it's all about desperation for some of these NFL teams. Some of these teams that feel like they're forced to win now. Last year we saw a drop in quarterbacks there. You and I predicted at least a couple going, but not out of talent, out of desperation for some of these
Absolutely.
teams.
When we did our mock drafts, we could not make ourselves take any of these guys above the third round. We just couldn't do it because it's like these guys were all overhyped and maybe they would miss out if they didn't take him. Not that that was his actual value at the position, but they were just scared that what they might get left with if they pass him up.
And I was proud of some of these NFL teams for holding back on some of that talent.
But maybe it's all a mind game. Maybe they wanted some of these teams to take a guy early, and that helps somebody they really want to fall back. You know, we heard Malik Willis could have gone to Carolina and all these other teams top 10. Ends up going third round. And then you watched his play at quarterback. Of course, he's young, but he has not looked good.
As of right now, the quarterback that's had the most success subjectively, you could say, although you could say he's had a good team behind him or a good situation that he came into, was the quarterback that went last in the draft.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
the last
Purdy,
pick of the draft.
Purdy has looked great. And I think Purdy maybe just was able to play within the system, just do what he's told.
So we had discussed before this previous game that Purdy had a lot of 2 touchdown, 1 interception game management games, but big broken tackle here for number 19.
It looked like the only thing that stopped him was stepping on his own foot.
And that might be the only thing that could stop Georgia at this point tonight.
I don't know if Georgia could lose if Stetson Bennett turned around every time he had the football and threw it through his own uprights. That would be a safety, by the way. That would be a fumble in the end zone and a safety. And I still think that Georgia stops him every time he does that.
A lot of missed tackles here by TCU, if you're seeing here. I think that defense is just
their heart's not in it, or maybe they're playing a little overly aggressive. Desperation.
But to retract back to Brock Purdy there in San Francisco.
Yeah, tell me about his last game. I don't know a lot about the stats, but they did look good when I checked them.
Yeah, so and there was a missed face mask call there on that run, and he still broke 2 tackles. He actually had 4 touchdowns, no picks.
Oh, okay.
This last game.
He had a dominant performance.
And I think that was with Deebo Samuel out, and he will be activated this week.
Now, who did the 49ers play?
I can't recall.
I'll look it up because I don't remember myself.
The only negative or neutral play for Georgia on this drive just now was a dropped wide open pass.
So the 49ers dominated the Cardinals in Week 18, which they should have. You know, they didn't score any points in the fourth quarter. They were already up 38 to 13. You know, Purdy looks like the dream guy. You know, how much are they paying him? Near nothing. You can stack a team full of stars now. The 49ers might be able to go out in the free agency and get better.
Wide open.
Unbelievable. Stetson Bennett dropping back and throwing up 38-7. Now up 44-7.
Extra point pending. Bennett looks fantastic. That receiving core looks like all-pro NFL receivers against this TCU secondary.
So we've got number 19. Let's look up a little bit about number 19.
You know, Bowers had the corner number 14 there.
Yeah, Brock Bowers at tight end. 20 years old.
Young guy playing fantastic in a big moment here. This Georgia team,
Wow, Brock Bowers just a sophomore.
simply put, this Georgia team is head and shoulders better than everyone else. He went up and got it, climbed the ladder on that corner. He probably had him
Bowers
beat
looking
by
like
2
a
yards and
first-round
had to,
pick, future first-round pick in the NFL.
which brings us back to the statement here when you asked me earlier. Um, I do think he probably goes in the first. I think individuals are going to see teams, GMs, the whole team that sits down and discusses who you're drafting. They're going to say, this guy's a winner. He performed like he performed. If you remember a few years ago, Joe Burrow had his best year his last year. He had that
Absolutely.
great year,
Transferred from Ohio State because he would not have an opportunity to play.
and he had that one huge year with LSU, maybe one of the best teams assembled outside of the Florida Gators.
Oh, pro football wide receivers playing with him.
Absolutely. It's one of the best teams we've ever seen in college football. Made a huge run. You have seen that it's transferred over to the NFL. I think some GM is going to look and say, "Hey, we can't let that pass by us too long." I think if
It can't be a fluke in the SEC. He played talent all year. Sometimes you see some of these other guys, they just beat the hell out of bad teams. But this guy, he beat the hell out of everybody.
and he's beating the hell out of people who are going to be in the NFL.
Absolutely.
Who-
Mac Jones really hasn't transitioned the same way. He had that great final year, just like Burrow did, surrounded by great talent, just like Burrow was. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't have the talent Burrow has around him, though, also. You could say that. Anyone would be very happy with Burrow's wide receivers and running back.
Right now, Joe Burrow has Pro Bowl and All Pro. Jamar Chase back healthy again. Maybe the best 1-2 punch with T. Higgins there at number 2. Absolutely the best 1-2-3 with Tyler Boyd at the 3. Hayden Hurst, who I guess at one point in the season I said he had no drops. He looked like he came in and was performing a lot better than he was there in Baltimore and Atlanta. And then, of course, Joe Mixon and P. Ryan out of the backfield. I will say his offensive line is beat up on the right side with La'el Collins being out.
Yeah, it just looked like they are unable to run the football, and maybe that is a true weakness in the playoffs, because the playoffs is a whole lot about being tough. Sometimes the tougher team wins.
And you might be up by one possession on Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, and you have to run the ball to run the clock out. And if you can't and you give them a possession to go win the game, they will.
Absolutely.
Running the ball is ever important, especially in the playoffs, being able to play in the trenches. And that's the precise reason why I believe that the Ravens with Lamar Jackson can come in and actually make a run against any team if they can control the clock, play good defense. That's just this history of success.
Yeah, absolutely. So they've had a great defense all year that did nothing but get better. TCU with a pretty good return. Oh, there's a flag, though. TCU returns the kickoff to the 31-yard line.
Late flag down at the 35. We could only assume it would go against TCU here. If so, this would be just back-breaking. It looks like they're going to signal a holding call.
So anyone watching, he is making fun of Notre Dame's old head coach. What was their old head coach that's an ESPN analyst? Lou Holtz. So this guy makes fun of Lou Holtz on the show all the time. If you're watching ESPN at home. TCU was at the 18-yard line, runs left side. Oh, pretty good run, probably about 6 yards, 7.
I think even at this point, 20-yard run is not a good run. I think you need to be pushing the ball down
They
the
are
field.
eating clock, period. This is a 38 point game. You have got to move the ball in chunks.
I wonder if the TCU coach is looking at the same scoreboard that we are.
Oh, Georgia brings pressure. Dugan avoids the pressure, gets the first down. The clock is running, though. The clock is their greatest enemy other than getting destroyed by 38 points.
Great job by Dugan to get out of the pocket there. Looked like there was a lot of pressure. He was able to use that mobility in his legs to be able to get out to the left side and pick up that first down, which...
But I think we have got to see 15, 20, 30-yard passes minimum. We've got to see that. Georgia is still bringing pressure. 10-yard pass. Should be very close to a first down. Looks a little short. Maybe short by about 6 inches. See if they give it to him. They do give them the first down, 1st and 10 at the TCU 40-yard line. 9 minutes left in the third quarter.
I think we could talk about this national championship game for a long time and debate it as one of the most dominant, not only performances, but teams in college football, recent college football history here.
Yeah, definitely. I think, though, a lot of people expected this. I really do. It's different when two powerhouse guys collide and there's a lopsided victory, but this seems like it's playing out the way it should have.
I still think for any matter, you expect some type of resistance from an opposing team here in the
This
in
just
the
shows
biggest
you how
game.
top-heavy the top 3 teams are. They are very top-heavy.
And I do think the portal helps us with that a bit, kind of diversifying that talent to other teams.
Well, I think it's going to help even more in the future. This is sort of the early time in the portal. Teams are paying for better quality players, and maybe that will get them more prospects.
That was great, great pressure right there by number 97, who was injured in the first quarter, if you remember. To get that pressure in the middle right there from the tackle position. Pressure up there forced Dugan to the outside to where that right end was able to get pressure.
Oh, man.
And,
On 3rd and 5, Dugan looked like a design quarterback run, just slips on his own.
and was popped right there by that defensive tackle that came in to fill up for 97, number 99.
And it looks like they're going to punt.
Beat the center and pop Dugan as he fell down. 4th and 8, TCU punting the ball at this point, I think, just to save face.
Absolutely, and I do not believe in saving face. You are always trying to win the game. You have been blown out in embarrassing fashion no matter what you do here. You can't tell me Georgia doesn't score again the rest of this game at least twice unless they're just trying to be nice.
Now, at this point, I think we could look into the statistics of the most lopsided point differential in national football college football national championship game history here, and I think you can debate that this game might overtake that one.
I'm going to try to Google the history of the game, try to get us some scores. It will be hard to get some scores prior to the BCS because national champions were decided by votes, not by head-to-head gameplay. Last year's game was 33-18. Georgia, I think a late pick six spread the score out on that game. Let's see. Oh, wow. In 2020, Alabama beat Ohio State 52-24. In 2019, LSU beat Clemson 42-25. In 2018, Clemson beat Alabama 44-16. So, the last four games haven't been one-score games. Definitely been multi-touchdown victories. None as bad as this, but that 2018 game, 44-16, that game did not feel as dominant as this. This is total destruction. Georgia has the football at the 16-yard line.
If any,
7:30 left in the third quarter with a big 12-yard run.
if anyone's watching Pat McAfee and his gang commentate this game,
That's about the only entertainment this game has offered.
it's extremely entertaining, extremely funny, and it'll never happen again. It'll be a once in a lifetime thing that you'll never see again. So go back and watch the highlights, or try to tune in to catch it live now while you have it, because he will never be invited back. Um, we'll leave it at that. A lot of movement here for Georgia. They might do some trickery here. Little end around. Could have been a holding right there on that receiver. I think at this point the refs are going to hold the flags. They're ready to go home.
Absolutely. Keep this clock running and get out of here.
Brock Bowers, true sophomore, 20 years old.
Yeah, so he will not be eligible for the draft until 2024.
TCU not playing the throw at all. They should be.
Wow, Georgia is throwing the football deep. They are showing no mercy. Oh, with the drop at the 19. Stetson Bennett was on target.
Number 11, Smith with the drop. Pretty good pass break up the TCU corner right there, coming up and hitting him in the back.
I think Georgia ran some play action to see if TCU still had their heart in the game or was just going to over-pursue it.
I think that actually was a bit of a bad pass by Bennett.
Oh, you thought he was
would have
overthrown?
led the receiver versus pushing it up, I think he would have had him there closer to the sideline. The receiver was running and had to stop and push up if you. And another throw. He took the 15-yard slant.
Flag on the play.
Insult to injury here for TCU. Not only was that a 15-yard catch, but and first down, but also a PI right there on number 1.
Number 1 was definitely all over his back early.
And just to confirm, that actually was not a catch. You could say the pass was broken up, but he was definitely on his back quite early. Pass interference moves the chains for Georgia as if they needed any more help. Or any help at all.
1st and 10 from the TCU 43 with a 3-yard run.
No pun intended, that Georgia offensive line is still playing like dogs right now. Up by almost 40 points here in the end of the third. Bennett takes the snap, hands off to the running back, and he gets stuffed for about a 1-yard loss right here at the TCU 41, 3rd down upcoming for Georgia.
Guess we'll see if Stetson Bennett's going to sling the ball here.
I don't see why not at this point.
Well, they've done it earlier in the drive, and we sure didn't expect it. They're trying to shove the ball down the field like they're trying to run the score up. Bennett, 5 total touchdowns in this game. No turnovers. Wow, Stetson Bennett throws to, I think that guy's 6'7", Darnell Washington, for about 30 yards.
Yeah, snap was taken from the 40. Bennett drops back on 3rd down, wide open. Tight end screaming down the middle right there. I can only assume he's a tight end. Screaming down the middle. Washington, number 0.
Yeah, Darnell Washington, 21 years old, 6'7", looks to be about a good 245.
Yeah, just shy of 30 yards there, about 27-yard gain. Man in motion. Bennett hands off to the running back.
Wow, I'm sorry. Darnell Washington is listed as 269.
That's a hulking young man right there. About a 1-yard loss right here for Georgia's running game, handing off on 1st down. Georgia's closing in on 200 rushing yards for the game, and that's probably been the least impressive part of their game so far.
It doesn't feel like 200 yards.
181. There's a pass here to the running back to the left side, stopped for about a 1-yard gain.
3rd and 11, 2:55 left in the game. Interesting statistic, Stetson Bennett has played in 3 college football playoff games, and he was named MVP of all 3 games.
Georgia 3rd and 11. They have not been stopped so far at all. Shown no resistance.
Stetson Bennett back to throw to the end zone.
Wide
Touchdown.
open, number 84 to the right side. Georgia scores once again.
51-7. Stetson Bennett's 6th touchdown of the game.
They have had no resistance by the TCU secondary. You take Bennett out here and you allow him. You just allow him to be healthy going into the
NFL draft.
Possibly.
You know, maybe you take him out so he can be the number 3 quarterback taken overall. With this performance, 6 touchdowns, it's only downhill from here. I don't think that you need to put his NFL career at risk just to run up the score.
You see how some of these second-string players perform here for Georgia, I think, at this point.
Absolutely. See if we got a freshman or sophomore, next year's quarterback star. See how he plays out here.
That was a really nice route. Even better throw.
Yeah, great throw. So maybe 84 is helping his Draft stock as well. He has looked great in this game.
Now I wonder what the record is for passing touchdowns by a quarterback, of course, in a national championship game.
I thought Joe Burrow had 6. I'll have to go back and look at that. Looks like Joe Burrow was 31 for 49 for 463 yards and 5 touchdowns. I don't know why it's so hard to get statistics on this game. You think I just type in what I want in Google and it would come back and tell me.
Good return here by TCU to the 30. At this point, I think everyone's ready to get out of here.
2 minutes left in the game.
In the third.
Yeah, that's right. In the third, this game has felt so long after the first quarter. It's just been so dominating, and nothing has been happening on the other side of the ball at all. I definitely think it's time to take Stetson Bennett out of the game.
Or you let him throw 10 either way. There you go. Backup warming up here. Just as we've predicted. Bennett's on the bench with his helmet off. Backup warming up, throwing. He may come in and throw some as well.
Wow, Dugan just escapes the sack here. Running for his life, throwing all the way across the field. Wow.
And nothing for TCU has looked good since that wide open 60-yard catch on the left side in the first
Absolutely.
quarter. And Duggan has been running for his life half the game. The Georgia defense has been almost perfect outside of that big play allowed, and the holding in the first quarter. In the last, almost 3 quarters now, we've seen no mistakes by the Georgia defense. Here's a first down allowed with some good yards after catch here by number 11 for TCU.
Yeah, before that play, TCU 152 total yards compared to Georgia's 485. TCU 4.1 yards per play compared to Georgia's 9. Just absolute dominance. TCU only able to run for 36 yards.
And if I'm correct, I believe it's maybe a 3 or 4 turnover differential in favor of Georgia.
It looks to be 3 turnovers for TCU, 0 for Georgia. TCU is 1 for 7 on third downs. They have 8 total first downs in the game.
And the tail of the tape here, the statistics indicate quite clearly the score of the game. 52-7 is exactly what I would believe, when you see those statistics. Double the offensive production. 3 turnovers to 0 turnovers. I'm sure the sack numbers are outrageous as well. Pressure numbers compared to, that of what was placed on Bennett through this game. It's been dominant. Even right there, a 1-yard run to the right side by Duggan was it just looked hard. Everything TCU has done tonight outside of that one big play has looked forced or difficult. Georgia, all of their plays almost at ease.
It's now the end of the third quarter. We will be going into the fourth quarter, 52-7. Georgia leads TCU.
TCU head coach here clapping, trying to get his team motivated, and all I can say is good on him. That has to be hard to rally those young individuals who, for the most part, have been extremely successful this season. To rally them after losing here by, a lot too little. To rally them and keep them motivated, kind of going into the fourth quarter here. Maybe not even to win, just to got to keep those spirits up going into the end of this game.
So who do you have in the Super Bowl this year?
If I had to say, I guess from the most non-biased perspective here, I'd probably say Kansas City and San Francisco.
I agree. I've got San Francisco pulling it out. I just think they're the better all-around team by far, better defense, actually a dominating defense. Maybe Kansas City has a whole lot of help from Mahomes on offense, but Kansas City doesn't have those big one-play game breakers. They really have to march the ball down the field.
That team really comes and goes with Patrick Mahomes. Everything from the offense and the defense, even special teams, you could argue, flows through Patrick Mahomes. You remove him, they may win 4 games. You insert him, and they are the AFC champions. He's the MVP this year, arguably.
Yeah,
Joe
definitely say
Burrow,
he's the MVP.
Hurts kind of fighting for 2 there. Burrow came on hot in the end of the season, but Pat Mahomes, though, with an extra game, broke the all-time passing yards in a season last week.
Oh, okay.
And well over 5,000 some. And I think he looks to be the MVP in a season where we thought he could have a decline without that number 1 weapon in Tyreek Hill. Instead, willing his team to a 13-3 season, or 14-3.
Yes, 14-3.
14-3, number 1 seed in the AFC. Rather dominant season by a team that we thought could regress a little bit here.
Oh, this says Mahomes ended the year with 5,250 yards.
Okay.
He fell short. Peyton Manning's, I think he had 5,477.
Okay.
Very impressive. I think that's at least his second. You can confirm it. So this is according to Pro Football Reference that he threw for 202 yards, 5,250 yards, 41 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Fantastic year.
Yeah, so with 358 yards, it looks like Mahomes finished the season with 5,614 passing yards. Oh, maybe it is total yards here.
Yep, that's total yards. He had 358 total rushing yards. Yeah, he ended with 52. He set the record for most total yards in a season.
There we
But
go.
I think he may have been third for passing yards. I'm not sure though.
Yeah, that was there was a confusion there. I saw the report. That was the all-time single season yardage record. 5,614, 5,250 of those being passing, 6 yards being receiving, and 358 being rushing yards there, breaking that all-time record for most all-purpose yards for a quarterback in a single season. Dominant, and like I said, a season where we thought he would regress a little bit, and they take that number one seed in the AFC. I think they have the best chance and the clearest path here to go to the Super Bowl through the AFC. And as for the Niners, we spoke earlier. I think they do it as well, bringing us a rematch of the Super Bowl a few years ago.
Yes, and I think the 49ers are definitely a better team than the last time they met in the Super Bowl.
I think if Debo and that receiving core can stay healthy behind McCaffrey having a revamp, being outside of Carolina for the first time in his career and being on a winning team, that defense being as dominant as they have been, it's hard to imagine that they are underdogs in any phases of the game.
Stetson Bennett has now left the game.
He smiles if he comes off the field, knowing that he's undoubtedly the MVP of this game, and may have just sealed his position as a first round draft pick here in the upcoming NFL draft.
You know, I
You would
could
only you would only think that someone would reach up and try to grab him before someone else does.
possibly maybe trade up from the second round or something. I could see the Jets wanting to take someone like him. I just think the Texans are going to grab their guy early. Um,
We can look at these draft positions while we're on a break here, after the removal of Stetson Bennett here from this game, with 13 minutes plus left in the fourth quarter. We can look at the draft positions and see where he could possibly go.
yeah,
And of
so
course,
the
we're looking at
Indianapolis Colts are definitely looking for a quarterback. I think that even as well as Stetson Bennett has played, uh, I think anything in the top 10 is it just feels too early. But if he's your guy, then what is too early? You're just happy to get a guy that's going to be your starter.
now. I think this is what's important. Everyone lacked to understand how big the Chicago game was this weekend, with Houston beating the Colts and Chicago losing. Chicago moved from second to first pick here in the NFL draft, and that's big because people would think, oh, they take the pick. They have Fields. He had a good rushing season this year. They just draft the best player available, not quarterback.
Absolutely.
But
And,
do they not trade down, acquire multiple picks from a team that's desperate to jump the Houston Texans and take that number one quarterback? Is it Bryce Young right there at number one? Maybe, maybe Vegas, maybe Indianapolis are desperate enough to trade up 3 picks to take that Chicago pick, give away some picks for the future, and jump Houston to take the guy that they want.
Absolutely. And I'm seeing Will Levis as the number 2 pick here, and I just don't see that at all. He has not played well. He's one of these guys where they really push his draft stock up based on physical abilities. If you're not good at playing quarterback, you're not the number 2 pick. You better come in being good at quarterback. They're not just going to draft some guy and then teach him how to be good at quarterback. That's not a first round guy. I definitely see Stetson Bennett being drafted over Anthony Richardson. He's just another one of these guys where they just see physical ability. But there's one thing that's different about Anthony Richardson and Stetson Bennett is they're trying to teach Anthony Richardson how to be a good quarterback, and Stetson Bennett is already proven to be a good quarterback.
I think a very good possibility of what we see here is the first two picks being quarterback, though we have, the defensive lineman here at Georgia being a good prospect, Will Anderson, the edge at Alabama, being a good prospect there outside of quarterback. I can easily see a world in a situation where C.J. Stroud is followed by C.J. Young, or Bryce Young, excuse me, at 1 and 2 if the Chicago Bears do not take a player and trade down, acquiring more picks for their rebuild. Trade down with a team in the top 5, top 10 there who are desperate to jump the Texans to get their guy. Bryce Young could go first to them, and then the Texans could take CJ, opening the door for Bennett to be taken by the next desperate team that needs a quarterback after those two teams.
And I just think things will heat up. The closer he'll have a pro day, you'll hear all these people talk him up. His draft stock will rise. As good as he's been, they put so much stock in statistics, in your size, how far you can throw the football. But all Stetson Bennett has proven is that he can win football games and be a great quarterback. I don't know if that's enough to get him into the first round. I without a doubt think he'll go in the first 3 rounds.
Well, right now, any mock draft you look at, prior to today, you don't see him going in the first round. You don't see him going in the top 4 or 5 quarterbacks. But you just have to look at the fact that he's a winner, and he is winning here in the biggest game. He's taken out with almost the whole fourth quarter left available here. Because they were up by 45 points. So
I mean, the man has played in 4 college football playoff games against the best talent in the nation, and in all 4 games, he's going to be the MVP of those games.
I think what matters most here is that he's a winner, and he's winning in these games that matter. And what do you really want out of your quarterback? Do you want statistics? Do you want that pretty face or that social media presence? Do you want those numbers? Do you want the flashy what sells tickets, or do you want to win games? Do you want to put your team in a position to be contending in every game by putting the best player available under center? That's what you want.
Well, and he's putting up good numbers on a team that doesn't have a first-round wide receiver. So Pickens went in the second round last year. Is that correct? I mean, that's as good as it's been for him. Was he a second rounder to
Yeah,
Pittsburgh?
I believe so. Yep, to Pittsburgh.
An early second rounder. So you talked Pickens up a lot, and then I think the Steelers moved up and got him.
Yeah, so to me, Pickens was one of the top receivers in the draft last year. I think he was super underrated. I was hoping my Ravens would grab him. I'm very happy with our David Ojabo pick there. I think he'll pan out for the future. But I really wanted Pickens there. I think he's a guy with big, strong hands. As Georgia is moving the ball down to the
Georgia
TCU
is
10.
throwing the football, and why not? Let's get this guy a little bit of live action practice in the national championship game.
Stetson Bennett looking on as Carson Beck throws an 11-yard completion to C.J. Smith here at the TCU 10. They're just going to pile it on with 10 minutes left. Why not 60-7? 59-60-7 here as time winds down here in the fourth. Beck with the handoff. Running back number 22 absolutely barrels into the end zone, breaking tackles, carrying defenders.
Oh, they're saying he's down at the 1. We'll look at this replay right here. Let's see if his knee was down just a little bit early.
Put Stetson Bennett and let him QB sneak.
Yeah. Pile on another touchdown here.
You let him have it again.
Yeah, Beck is
no
definitely
doubt now.
in there now. What are they doing?
Into the end zone. Robinson, number 22, for a touchdown. Pile it on. 58-7, Georgia, in the CFP National Championship game here. An absolute dominating game.
So Carson Beck is a
Freight
sophomore.
train.
I guess we'll be seeing him next year. He's seen a little bit of action this year. 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Completed 75% of his passes. (59-7). Georgia hits the extra point. This really feels like it's going to be a long 9 minutes.
And I think there's no doubt this should now be the largest deficit in college playoff national championship history here.
I think when Georgia gets the ball, they need to let Beck go back out there and just continue to throw. Let's see what he's got.
Let him play like he's playing to win at this point. I think that mathematically, statistically, numbers-wise, there is zero chance. I think if there was pick six thrown the whole game, there still might not be a chance.
Absolutely.
So let him go out there and make some throws. As we previously mentioned, there's been very few national championship games in recent memory, as of recent, that have been close or particularly close, but this one is it just has a different feel here from top to bottom, beginning to end. Georgia has dominated every phase of the game here against TCU, only punting when they almost conceded to just running the ball to run the clock out. Still throwing up by 40-plus points at different junctures in this game. Throwing at will at this point, running at will, almost 200 or 200-plus at this point yards. It's hard to remember. I'd say they're over 500 yards of total offense to TCU's roughly 200 yards. And again, just in dominating fashion, the Georgia Bulldogs will be your 2023 national champions. Now, as for TCU, does their man come out? Does their quarterback come out here? Does
Dugan?
Does Dugan still come out? Does he still play?
I would ask him. I would ask him if he wants to come out. Because I'm curious about it. We're playing for next year now.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you protect these players from themselves. You know, say, hey, I think that and it looks like you will. Um, I think sometimes you just have to say, hey, it's time to call it. Let's not get you hurt. Maybe even see what you have for next year with some of your younger guys. TCU will still be relevant for a few for years. They'll still be relevant. They'll still be good.
I'm not sure though, because they did come out of nowhere. Now I don't know enough about them to really say why they came out of nowhere. Now I'm also curious about how well they recruited, because I don't know. I don't know where they stand for the future of recruiting. A team like TCU, I don't know that they've got that backup quarterback that's going to step right in and be just as good. Because this Dugan guy, he could have been a one-off thing. I mean, I haven't heard of a TCU quarterback since, oh God, Andy
Andy Dalton.
Dalton. Yeah, because who is standing in line to play quarterback at TCU? We're so used to teams that play in these national championship games to be the teams that are always there, and every year all they do is reload. But you saw a team like Cincinnati last year. They're nowhere to be seen. They just happened to have all that talent in one place at the same time. They got to make a run, and maybe TCU's like that, but TCU also they don't play in the SEC, so I guess they have a chance every year to throw down 10 wins and have a chance to show up.
It definitely doesn't hurt when your level of competition is not up to that of or par to that of the SEC.
And the talent's really spread out in the SEC. So you have teams like Ohio State and Michigan that really all the talent is consolidated onto their teams in their conference. They're really just going through the motions until they play each other. In the SEC, you could mess around and lose any week because the teams are just so good. But it's definitely looked like Georgia has been head and shoulders above everyone all year. 59-7 Georgia, fourth quarter, 9 minutes left in the game. Second and 12, TCU with the ball. I think Dugan's still in the game. I would just really want to see what I got for next year. Georgia with the sack. This just all over him. Sacks him back at the 11-yard line. This is insult to injury. Ball at the 14-yard line. Third and 21. Georgia just rushes 4. Dugan completes the pass to the 30-yard line. 16-yard completion. It's 4th and 6. Georgia brings pressure on 4th and 6. Number 11 off the corner with the sack. I don't know why in the world TC is going for 4th downs now. They should have been doing this the whole game. Georgia will get the football at the, I believe, the 17-yard line. So TCU goes for it on 4th and 6 and gets sacked. I don't know what took them so long to go for it. All they're going to do is let Georgia put up 60 points on the first play of the possession. Georgia runs the ball left for about 16 yards. One play, one score. 65-7. Wow, number 22 runs into the end zone with a 16-yard run untouched.
That's his second touchdown since coming into the game here.
Oh! Georgia misses the extra point, 65-7.
That might hurt him there.
Yeah. I wonder what the spread was on this game. It would be funny if that, on the over-under, if that 1 point, I can't imagine, what are we at? We're at 68. I don't know. I can't imagine 65 and then 7. I can't imagine that there's a an over-under of 72. It's got to be under 72.
Might have been close. 60s maybe?
63 points.
Yep.
63 is the over-under. Georgia was just a 13-point favorite for this game. It's a little bit off.
Georgia has left no doubt here that they are the best team in college football. What a way to cap off an undefeated season. TCU cannot hang their heads as hard as it may be here. They've had a great season in their own right.
I'm just glad we're going to an expanded playoff, so something like this doesn't happen again. As good of a year you can say TCU has had, I think that if they have to play multiple games to get here, that they don't get here.
And it looked like they did pull Dugan here.
Yeah, Dugan's out of the game. Let's see who this backup is.
Dugan finishes the night 14 for 22, 152 passing yards, no touchdowns, and 2 picks.
Right now, the freshman Chandler Morris is in the game.
Looks like TCU's contented here with just running the ball. Hopefully getting out of here healthy.
Well, I'm sorry. Earlier, I thought Max Dugan was the number 3 guy in the Heisman Trophy contention. He was actually the runner-up, which if you look at the Ohio State game against Georgia and you look at his game against Georgia, you see how C.J. Stroud definitely deserved to be the number 2 guy. Because there's just no comparison in the gameplay between these two quarterbacks against the same team.
So I actually disagree with that debate, and I just recently started to believe more in the other side of the coin there.
Mm-hmm.
Could the greatest, this is what we're talking about, chat, could the greatest college football team of all time beat the worst NFL team of all time? Now, I've always been of the mindset of the proponent that no, they could not. You take the greatest college football team of all time and you put them against any NFL team ever, they lose. Bad. I disagree now.
Well, I disagree because these teams are so loaded now.
And think about eras. You think of the eras where there were some really bad teams.
Yeah,
I
they
don't
used to not
know.
let black people play.
And I don't know if we get canceled for that. So glad this wasn't real. 50,000 viewers. There wasn't another stream that they could listen to.
There have
no,
been
I
some
think in a
very
diff-
bad NFL teams. We're talking the 0-16 Lions, the 0-16. But you know that 0-16 Lions team had Matthew Stafford and Megatron.
Yep. Yeah, but I'm speaking like the 60s.
Yeah, where they just handed the ball off and ran. It was very basic. Those Browns teams were pretty bad everywhere.
But
You
even
do
those
think
old
about
Browns,
what?
I think I said even those old Browns teams had Jim Brown.
Oh yeah, but he ran all over people.
Most in college football playoffs. 65 points. Damn, I scored 70.
Big run by number 20 for Georgia. 65 to 7 right now. 4 minutes left in the game. First and 10.
It doesn't matter who's in this game. They're moving the ball at will.
Yeah, I think right now they're just getting some guys in. Maybe getting some seniors in, giving them some playing time. Maybe make a memory getting to be out there. Or seeing what they got next year. Right now, try to get some seniors in there. Just let them get some memories.
Georgia dropping back to run, still getting 5 to 6 yards a carry.
Georgia with the ball at TCU's 46, I do believe.
I think once this game gets down 2 minutes, I think you just kneel the ball here.
Yeah, yeah. You're 2 plays away from seeing kneels. I'd still let this kid throw the ball here. Let him throw the ball. Nice run it.
Third and 2 here, Georgia. I think they should take the flea flicker.
Yeah. Let's see a little bit of flea flicker action here. See if those cornerbacks can get a little lazy.
What's 72 points to 65, right?
Yeah. It's all dominance.
Instead, we see Georgia run.
First down, Georgia.
About a 3-yard
now
pickup
you will
here.
see them kneel this game out.
And you have it here, guys. Georgia, your 2023 national champions. Without a doubt. They left no doubt.
15-0.
On their way to an undefeated season, capped by a huge, almost 58-point win over the TCU Horned Frogs. The Georgia Bulldogs are your national champions, leaving no doubt here. It's hard to understate how great they were on all sides of the ball unless you watch the game. Here we have, Beckett for the kneel down. They're going to go to celebrations. You have your national champions. Coach gets his Gatorade bath here.
Is Georgia the first 15-0 college football team? I'm not sure about that statistic, but
Not sure of the quality of the ice bath there.
15-0 team.
The Gatorade bath. A little underwhelming.
They could have gave him this bath at the end of the second quarter.
So we'll have one more kneel down until it's official in the history books of Georgia being the winners of your 2023 national championship, the most lopsided national championship in college football history, the most points put up in a college playoff game of all time, your Georgia Bulldogs.
So in 2019, LSU became the third team to go 15-0. They also did that in consecutive seasons, I do believe.
Official 15-0, number one, undefeated national championship Georgia Bulldogs, 65-7 over the TCU Horned Frogs.
Yes, so let's see, Clemson in 2018 went 15-0, and then the next year LSU went 15-0. So this looks to be the fourth team all time to go 15-0. This has been the most dominating college football national championship game ever. But hopefully with the expansion of the playoffs, we will never see anything like this again.
Yeah, this game was extremely fun and entertaining for Georgia fans and Georgia
Absolutely.
fans
So if you're
only.
just a casual fan, this isn't good for college football. People who don't normally watch college football, if they watch this game, it was pretty boring.
And if you're a TCU fan, this isn't good for your mental health.
Yes, you may have changed the channel a long time ago. All right, well, we'll finish up this broadcast. Georgia goes undefeated, 15-0, and wins back-to-back national championships. So congratulations to them. Is there anything you want to leave us on, Christian?
No, I just think we were able to see a dominant performance by the best team by far in college football. I think any team that would have been here to replace TCU would have suffered the same fate here. Georgia Bulldogs, your 2023 national champions in decisive fashion.
Yeah, so the college football, the team that does the voting, they got it right. Um, if Tennessee is here instead of them, if Alabama is here instead of TCU, you absolutely have a closer game, but you have the same result. Alrighty, well, that was our first ever broadcast, and if you do listen, thank you very much. Hopefully, we'll do some more in the future. Goodbye.